I slammed the front door behind me, my hands trembling with rage. The image of my husband Caleb, tangled in bed with my own sister Jenna, was seared into my mind, an unspeakable betrayal that shattered my world. "You lying, cheating bastard," I screamed, storming into the bedroom. Caleb sprang up, his face drained of color as Jenna clutched the sheets around her naked body. "Vivian? I can explain," Caleb stammered, panic flashing in his eyes. "Explain what?" I spat. "That you've been screwing my own flesh and blood behind my back?" Jenna tossed her head defiantly. "Don't act so shocked, sis. You're just an old boring wife. He needs a woman who can keep him excited." White-hot fury flooded my veins as I fought the urge to lunge at her. Caleb stepped between us, his expression a sickening mix of guilt and desperation. "Baby, you're imagining things. This isn't what it looks like. Don't you dare gaslight me." I raged at my husband of 12 years. "I saw it with my own eyes. How could you do this to me, to our marriage?" Jenna smirked. "Face it, Viv. He got tired of your career-obsessed act. I'm just giving him what he really wants." Revulsion churned in my gut as I took in her smug, self-satisfied sneer. This was my baby sister, the girl I helped raise after our parents died, and she had violated the ultimate taboo by sleeping with my husband in our marital bed. "Get out," I said in a low, trembling voice. "Both of you. Get your things and get out of my house right now." Caleb refused to leave that night, claiming the house was as much his as mine. I spent a sleepless night on the couch, my mind replaying the sordid scene over and over. How could the man I loved, the man who had once doted on me, betray me in such a cruel way? And with Jenna, of all people. As the sun rose, I dragged myself up and poured a strong coffee, needing to be clear-headed. I opened the photo album stuffed in the hall closet, flipping through the happy memories of our early years together. We had been the perfect power couple. I was a rising star at Boston's most prestigious law firm, while Caleb had started his own construction company from the ground up. Putting in grueling hours, we lifted each other up, my legal skills helping him win big contracts. His business began thriving, allowing me to take a slightly less demanding role to try for the family we both desperately wanted. But after years of fertility treatments and heartbreak, Caleb grew resentful of the sacrifices he'd made. He started staying later at work sites, picking fights over little things. I was too wrapped up in keeping my career afloat to see the cracks in our foundation. "You look like hell," Caleb's gruff voice made me jump. He stood in the hallway, already dressed for work in his dusty boots. "Gee, I wonder why," I shot back acidly. "My husband's been cheating on me with my own sister. That might mess with someone's beauty sleep." He sighed, raking a hand through his graying hair. "I never meant to hurt you, Viv. Things just got out of hand with Jenna." "Oh, so it just accidentally fell into her? That's quite a feat." Anger flashed across his face. "Don't get snarky with me. You've been married to your job for years, while I killed myself providing for us." "Providing for us?" I laughed bitterly. "My 6-figure salary is the only reason your little construction gig ever got off the ground in the first place." The barb struck home. Caleb's jaw clenched as he grabbed his truck keys. "I'm not doing this with you. I've got work to get to." "That's what you're best at," I called after him. "Walking away from your problems." The front door slammed, leaving me alone with the shattered pieces of my life. I looked at our happy wedding photo, wondering when everything had gone so wrong between us, and why my own sister had to be the one to destroy it all. Over the next few weeks, I tried to go about my daily life as if nothing had changed, but Caleb's emotional withdrawal from me, from our marriage, was becoming impossible to ignore. He would come home late most nights, reeking of whiskey and avoiding my gaze. I'd try to ask about his day, only to be met with grunts or one-word answers. The man I had fallen in love with, passionate, driven, always ready with a joke to make me laugh, was fading away before my eyes. My suspicions were raised further by the constant presence of Jenna in our lives. Despite the horrific betrayal, she would show up at our house uninvited, demanding Caleb's attention for some drama in her life, and he would drop everything to comfort her, to be her shoulder to cry on. "Jenna's going through a really tough time right now, with the divorce," he mumbled one night after getting off the phone with her. "I need to swing by and check on her." "Again?" I asked pointedly. "You were just over there last night fixing something at her place." He avoided my accusing stare. She needs me, Viv. Her soon-to-be ex is giving her hell over the house. Well, I need you too, I exploded, feeling the sting of his indifference. Or have you forgotten that small fact? Caleb simply shrugged, grabbing his keys. I'll be back later. Don't wait up. The front door closed with a sense of finality. I stood there, my fists clenched, as the now familiar feelings of dread and denial washed over me. Surely I was imagining things. Caleb may have been pulling away, but he loved me. He would never... My spiraling thoughts were interrupted by the shrill ring of the phone. Jenna's number flashed on the caller ID, taunting me. What? I snapped, unable to hide my hostility. Vivian? Her voice was hushed, almost trembling. I think Caleb is on his way over. I really need you here. My heart plummeted into my stomach. Need me there? For what exactly? There was a pause, then Jenna spoke in that same tremulous tone. I'm scared, sis. I'm all alone, and the noises from outside. I just feel safer when you're around. I squeezed my eyes shut, nausea rising. She was baiting me, testing to see if her lies could reel me in like a foolish, unsuspecting fish. Did she and Caleb think I was that blind? Save it, Jenna, I said in a low, controlled voice. If you want to screw my husband, you can leave me out of it. The line went dead as my worst fears were confirmed. The man I loved and my own traitorous sister were making a mockery of me right under my nose. But I refused to go down without a fight. I knew I couldn't go on like this, living in denial, letting Caleb and Jenna make a fool of me. I needed proof of their affair before I could decide my next move. So I swallowed my pride and hired a private investigator recommended by a friend. Mike Connolly was a no-nonsense ex-cop who didn't blink an eye at the seedier details of my situation. Cheating spouses are a dime a dozen, he said gruffly. I'll get you the evidence you need. A week later, Mike showed up at my office with a thick manila envelope. Sorry it took a little longer than expected, Mrs. Weston. Your husband's craftier than I gave him credit for. My hands shook as I opened the envelope and the damning photos spilled out. There was Caleb, his arms wrapped around Jenna in a passionate embrace outside a cheap motel. Another showed them in an alley, her legs locked around his waist as they kissed hungrily. Bile rose in my throat looking at the graphic proof, but I forced myself to keep going. Mike had also included transcripts of recorded phone conversations that left no doubt about the nature of their affair. You're all I think about every minute of the day. Caleb's voice crackled through the speakers as I hit play. I can't wait to leave that dried-up sexless marriage and be with you, baby. Jenna's throaty laughter made my skin crawl. Don't worry, lover. Once I bleed that cold bitch dry in the divorce, we'll have more than enough to start over together. The vile words kept coming as I sat numb, tears streaming down my cheeks. This was the man I had loved, the man I had sacrificed for year after year, and he saw me as nothing but a walking ATM to use and discard. I've heard enough, I choked out, shutting off the recorder. Mike watched me impassively as I struggled to compose myself. So what's the plan now, Mrs. Weston? You want me to follow him some more, get more evidence for the divorce proceedings? I stared at the lurid photos of my husband and sister, feeling a scorching anger take hold. Divorce wasn't enough, not for the soul-crushing way they had betrayed me, not for their casual discussion of bleeding me dry. No more following, I said in a low, dangerous voice. I've seen all I need to see. Mike frowned. Then what do you want me to do? A slow, vindictive smile spread across my face as the perfect plan took shape. I want you to keep watching them, Mr. Connolly, but not for me. I leaned forward, reveling in the first stirrings of vengeance. For them. Because by the time I'm through, they'll have much bigger problems than a divorce. With the proof of Caleb and Jenna's affair burning a hole in my brain, I forced myself to continue acting normal around them. It wasn't easy, picturing their naked bodies intertwined while Caleb came home and pecked my cheek like nothing had changed. Working late again? I kept my tone light as he grabbed a beer from the fridge. Caleb grunted in response. Yeah, big project coming due. You know how it is. Of course. I gave him a sad smile. I'm just going to miss you, that's all. He paused, a flicker of something like guilt crossing his face before the usual blankness returned. Don't wait up, he mumbled, already heading for the door. As soon as it closed, my fake smile vanished. Reaching into my purse, I pulled out the burner phone I'd purchased and tapped out a message. He's on the move. Let me know where he ends up. Mike Connolly's response came quickly. You got it. I spent the evening poring over Caleb's financial statements, construction contracts, and other business documents. As a corporate lawyer, I knew all the loopholes, the sleight-of-hand tricks companies use to cut corners. Shady labor practices, environmental violations, tax evasion, you name it, I'd helped clients get around it. Now I would use that knowledge to burn Caleb's entire empire to the ground. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. A new address from Mike, along with a terse message. Motel again. White-hot fury lanced through me as I pictured them together, laughing at my oblivious suffering. I wanted to storm over there to scream the truth and make them face the consequences. But I forced myself to stay calm, to keep my eyes on the prize, making them pay in the most devastating way possible. Over the next few weeks, I began deploying a strategic series of anonymous calls and tips to various regulatory agencies, code violations on multiple construction sites, improper disposal of hazardous materials, undocumented workers being paid under the table. At first, it was just minor fines and work stoppages, which Caleb angrily tried to dispute. But I kept hitting him from all sides: the IRS, the EPA, the Department of Labor. His panicked calls and texts went unanswered as I busied myself with other important cases at the office. What the hell is going on? He roared when he finally made it home one night, slamming his fist on the counter. Every single one of my sites is under investigation. I looked up from my book with a neutral expression. I'm so sorry, babe. I had no idea things were that bad at work. His bloodshot eyes bored into me before he seemed to deflate with a frustrated sigh. I gotta get a handle on this, Viv. The fines are crippling me, and if they actually shut me down... I crossed the room and placed a soothing hand on his arm, trying not to smirk at the raw panic in his voice. It'll be okay. You've worked too hard to let this take you down. Caleb pulled me into a stiff hug, his body tense. I don't know what I'd do without you, he muttered into my hair. You're about to find out, I thought with grim satisfaction, because by the time I'm done, you'll have lost everything. The next few months were torture, watching Caleb's world crumble around him. Construction sites were shut down left and right amid the mounting investigations. Fines and legal fees piled up into the millions. Employees walked off the job as payroll bounced. Yet through it all, the smug bastard remained oblivious to the fact that I was the one orchestrating his downfall from the shadows. He tried desperately to get ahead of the allegations, hiring lawyers and consultants to do damage control. But I was always one step ahead, anonymous tip leading to another disastrous blow. Jenna, of course, was firmly by his side the entire time, playing the supportive, concerned girlfriend as Caleb unraveled. No doubt she was counting down the days until his business assets would be stripped away in the divorce, leaving her free to swoop in as his sugar baby. This is insane, Viv, Caleb yelled one night, pacing furiously as I calmly sipped tea. They're threatening to pull my contractor's license, to freeze all my accounts. Well, did you do the things they're accusing you of? I asked mildly. Maybe you should just come clean if you've been cutting corners. His face went beet red with rage. I'm not a crook. Someone is setting me up. Don't you see that? Or maybe, a silky voice came from the hallway, you're just reaping what you sowed after treating your wife and business like dirt for so long. Jenna slinked into the room, eyes glittering with undisguised malice aimed at me. I felt a flicker of disgust at her blatant attempt to turn Caleb against me even further. Stay out of this, Jen, Caleb growled. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. But she ignored him, sidling up to rub his arm soothingly. Poor baby, you're under so much stress. Maybe it's time you finally face the truth. Vivian is the one behind all this. I barely hid my smirk as Caleb's head whipped around, eyes narrowing at me with sudden suspicion. What is she talking about? Think about it, lover, Jenna purred, shooting me a triumphant look. Who else could be doing this to you? Vivian's a corporate lawyer. She knows all the loopholes, the ways to bleed a company dry from the inside. Caleb opened his mouth, then closed it slowly as realization seemed to dawn. I held his gaze steadily, daring him to break first. Is it true? He finally rasped out, fists clenched at his sides. Have you been the one destroying my life's work all this time, burning everything I built to the ground? I let out a soft chuckle, reveling in his shock and horror. Finally caught on, did you? Yeah, it's all been me. Every violation, every fine, every shutdown order. I stood, feeling powerful as I towered over both of their stunned faces. And I'm not done yet, not by a long shot. You're going to lose everything, Caleb. Your business, your money, your reputation, all of it. Jenna's mouth worked soundlessly as I turned my icy glare on her. And you're going to be left with absolutely nothing when the gravy train dries up. No business to bleed, no man to leech off of. You bitch, she finally spat out, color rising in her cheeks. We never did anything wrong. Save it. I held up a hand, digging into my purse to pull out the thick manila envelope. I have all the proof I need of your sordid little affair, all the photos, all the recordings of your crude pillow talk. I tossed it at their feet, reveling in their twin expressions of shock and shame as the lurid evidence spilled out. So go ahead, I said with a tight smile. Try and talk your way out of this one. I'll be waiting. For days after my grand reveal, Caleb and Jenna avoided me like the plague. He'd leave before I got up and return late, holed up in his study. Jenna stopped coming around altogether, much to my relief. I could feel them stewing, scheming, wondering how to slither their way out of the disastrous situation I'd put them in. Good luck with that, I thought with grim satisfaction. I had them dead to rights. Finally, about a week later, Caleb approached me with hunched shoulders and a hangdog expression. Viv, we need to talk. I arched an eyebrow but remained silent as he sank onto the couch beside me. Up close, I could see his haggard appearance, red-rimmed eyes, graying stubble, the once confident man, utterly broken. I don't know what to say, he began haltingly. What you did, the way you dismantled everything I built from nothing. He shook his head slowly. It was a masterful job. A tiny smirk played across my lips at the begrudging compliment. I do have a particular skill set. You've won, Caleb sighed, dropping his head into his hands. The company is being forcibly dissolved. The banks are seizing assets, properties, there's nothing left. Gee, that's too bad. I inspected my nails nonchalantly. But I'm sure you and Jenna have enough socked away to keep you comfortable for a while, right? His jaw clenched at the mention of her name. Jenna's gone, for good. My eyebrows rose in surprise. Oh, did the little mistress finally get bored once the cash dried up? Don't start, Caleb warned, a flash of anger in his eyes. She's out of my life, out of our lives. Smart man, I murmured, studying him appraisingly. Maybe not such an idiot after all if you dumped the leech. He drew a deep, shuddering breath. Look, you've made your point, okay? You wanted to make me suffer, and you did it. I'm ruined, bankrupt, my whole life destroyed because of my stupid mistakes. I opened my mouth, but he barreled on. The only thing I have left is this house, the house you bled and sacrificed for just as much as me. His eyes bored into me intently. Just take it, Vivian. Take it all in the divorce, and I'll walk away with nothing. You'll have your justice. I felt a surge of vicious glee, but kept my expression neutral. That's an interesting proposal, though forgive me for not exactly trusting you at the moment. I'm not asking you to trust me, Caleb said roughly. I'm asking you to take everything and leave me with the clothes on my back, if that's what you want. It's the least I deserve, after how I treated you. I studied him silently for a long moment, wheels spinning in my mind. This was it. The final delicious act of my revenge, to strip him of every last thing he valued, to leave him a broken, shamed husk of a man. All right, Caleb, I said at last. I'll take your offer. Draw up the papers to sign over this house, the property, everything to me in the divorce, and you'd better not cross me, because if you try to weasel out of it— I let the threat hang in the air. He swallowed hard and gave a solemn nod. You have my word. Just tell me where to sign. I smiled thinly and stood, heading for the kitchen to pour myself a glass of wine. My petty, vindictive plan was finally complete. But I wouldn't stop there. Not until I had utterly and completely destroyed both Caleb and Jenna, leaving them as empty husks. They would know the soul-crushing pain of utter betrayal, and I would savor every agonizing second of it. The next few months were a whirlwind as I solidified my control over Caleb's decimated company and assets. True to his word, he signed over the deed to the house and all remaining property, leaving himself with nothing. I took a perverse pleasure in watching him slink around like a whipped dog, forced to move into a grungy apartment and take whatever construction labor jobs he could find. The mighty businessman brought to his knees by the wife he had so callously betrayed. As for Jenna, she had indeed slunk away into the shadows once Caleb's money ran out. I couldn't help but revel in the thought of my traitorous sister living in squalor, having tasted the high life only to have it torn away. Maybe now she'd think twice before trying to steal another woman's husband. With my laser focus and legal expertise, I was able to streamline and rebuild the construction company into a highly profitable, ethically run operation. Contracts were renegotiated, shady practices eliminated, and I brought in a trusted team to oversee day-to-day management. Watching the business thrive again under my guidance was deeply satisfying. This was my vengeance made whole, taking everything Caleb had worked for and making it better, stronger, more successful than he ever could, all while he scraped by on menial labor wages. A small part of me knew I should feel sated, that I had gotten the ultimate revenge for his unforgivable betrayal. But there was still that lingering ember of resentment, that urge to keep twisting the knife until he and Jenna were left as empty, debased shells. My chance came a few months later, when there was a loud pounding on my door one evening. I opened it to find Caleb disheveled and wild-eyed on my front step. "You've got to help me," he rasped urgently. "It's Jenna. She's in trouble." Despite my distaste, I felt a prickle of concern. "What kind of trouble?" He ran a shaky hand through his lank hair. "She's been crashing on my buddy's couch, trying to hustle drinks at this skeezy bar, racking up debt with the wrong people, if you know what I mean." My jaw clenched as I realized he was insinuating Jenna had turned to prostitution and petty crime to keep a roof over her head. As much as she had betrayed me, she was still my baby sister. "And you want what exactly?" I asked coolly. "For me to save the day with money? After everything?" Caleb swallowed hard, his bravado seeming to deflate. "Please, Vivian, I know I have no right to ask you for anything, but she's in deep. I can't let anything happen to her." I stared at him for a long moment, feeling a flicker of the man I had once loved beneath the broken, desperate exterior. As much as he had hurt me, some part of him still cared for Jenna, still wanted to protect her. With a heavy sigh, I turned and retrieved my purse, pulling out a wad of cash. "Here," I said gruffly, pressing it into his palm. "Get her out of whatever hellhole she's in and back on her feet. But that's it. I'm not getting involved further than that." Caleb's eyes widened as he clutched the money. "Viv, thank you. You don't know what this means." I held up a hand to cut him off. "Don't thank me. Just take the money and go before I change my mind." He gave a jerky nod, something like shame flickering across his features before he turned and hurried away into the night. I watched him go, feeling a strange sense of melancholy amid the satisfaction. My revenge was complete. I had taken everything from the two people who betrayed me most, leaving them penniless and alone. So why did this victory feel so hollow?